Record. Council members are present, Your Honor.
Had to forget something, folks. It's just, that's the way it works. Captain, would you lead us in the flag salute? Thank you very much. Council, first item of business this evening is the consent agenda. We have 5 items, including minutes, payroll, checks, and a couple of minor matters. Get a motion?
Move to approve consent.
You in a second. You have a motion by Mr. Elwood, second by Ms. Colon. All in favor?
Aye.
Very much. This time we will move to citizens' comments. This is the time at which, if you would like to address City Council on an item not on tonight's agenda, this is the time for that. We'll start here in City Council chambers first and then move online. If you would like to speak, raise a hand or move to the podium here in chambers. Got 3 minutes, starting with name and address for the record. Those online, please indicate in the chat. *9. On the right number there, *9. All right, again on the. Anyone here in chamber? Seeing no one move to the podium. Anyone online?
Not at this time.
Very much. And we will move on to announcements, presentations, and appointments. First thing on tonight's agenda, introductions. We have with us tonight Captain Lynch from the Snoqualmie North Bend Police Department. He's got some introductions that we've long been waiting. Captain.
Mayor, council members for having us, staff. Up here, and so I have the distinct honor tonight of standing in for the chief who's over in Snoqualmie at a budget meeting. He would much rather be here, but I wrestled him for it and I got the job to be here. So I get to unveil 3 new police officers and our newest addition, the mental health professional. I want to go through and give a little bit of background on each one of them, and have them tell their story if they want to. If they want to say a couple words, they can. This time last year, we down 10 bodies, department, about 22 officers with sergeants. So 10, when we lose 10, a pretty big hit. The ability to cover calls, to be out on the road, have bodies back up. We have started to climb out of that hole. And as most of you know, when we lose an officer, to replace the officer, it's not just advertise in the newspaper and we'll hire somebody. It is probably about a 3 to 4 month hiring process. If we go with an entry-level officer who has never been to the academy, once they get hired, they have to wait for an academy class. Once they have their date, they go away for about 4.5 months, the police academy. And then when they come back, they're going to be put through about a 3 to 3.5 month field training program where they're assigned an officer to train them, not allowed to do anything by themselves. They're always being watched. They're being graded every night and every day that they come to work. And then once they make it through all of that, then they're finally able to go out solo patrol and fill a spot on the schedule. These three officers that you see here all graduated in October. So one of them, I believe one of them just switched from their first FTO to their second. The other two will be doing that shortly. So they're early on in their field training. So when you're out and about and you see a two-man car, the training car. So I'll introduce these guys. Officer Anthony Lemon played football and basketball at Liberty High School in Renton before obtaining his associate's degree from the Bellevue Community College, and then going on to receive his Bachelor of Science degree at Central Washington University, where he majored in law justice. And Officer Corey Hendricks was born in Bellevue, grew up in Snoqualmie, where he graduated from Mount Si High School. He worked for the city of Issaquah Parks Department for approximately 11 years before answering the call to serve his community as a police officer. And he and his family do live in the North Bend area. Officer Nick Shulgin attended college at Idaho State University before enlisting with the United States Marine Corps, where he was a military police officer, embassy guard. He's currently serving in the Army National Guard and also lives in the North Bend area. Then comes to our mental health professional. You guys have been hearing about this position for a few months now. And I wanted to bring her to actually face to the conversations that we've been having. This is mental health professional Stephanie Butler. Prior to coming to the Snoqualmie Police Department, Stephanie worked as a school-based mental health therapist, clinical manager of children and adolescents, licensed social worker, lead clinical therapist, and she does hold the certification to be a mental health professional. Brings with her a Bachelor of Science degree in special education that she received from Ole Miss, a master's in social work from Savannah State University in Georgia. All four very different people, all four very different personalities and different paths get here tonight, standing up of you. But the one thing that they all have, they heard the call, serve, and they do have servant hearts. And we're lucky to have people still want to do this job, themselves in harm's way. It's very difficult to find good candidates these days. And we really got lucky with these three officers and the mental health professional. They are quality people. And they're going to represent you guys and serve this community very well. So that's all that I have. I could talk about these guys for an hour, but that's, and I believe would like.
Everyone, I just wanted to say thank you so much, not only for supporting this position, but getting the position and allowing it to be something. I mean, Captain couldn't have said it better. The call to serve is something that is very near and dear to my heart. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I look forward to doing it for many years to come.
Yeah, so I'm Officer Corey Hendricks, born and raised out here, a lifelong resident. Was with City of Issaquah for actually approximately 15 years. This called me when law enforcement's always been a strong interest of mine. So I'm glad I was able to to my dreams. Snoqualmie was always hands down my first choice agency to go with. I'm thankful to be here tonight and be with them. Again, like, is my hometown. I look forward to serving this in the North and Snoqualmie and make this.
Right, well,
That's just fine. Council, I imagine you've got a few words. I personally want to shake each of these folks' hands as well. Look down this end first.
Just want to thank them for stepping forward, and we look forward to having you in our community.
I second that. Thank you for choosing Snoqualmie North End. We need you greatly. We're so excited to have you, and for all three of the officers. That's exciting. This new. We're trying out. I hope.
Couldn't agree more with those sentiments, and I appreciate your call to service. All of you, especially in the mental health area, have to deal with a lot of tricky situations, and what I can say, my experience here on council and with my colleagues, you continue to have our support. We see you as a vital asset for our community, as well as making our community a more vibrant place to live, right? Your presence is known. People appreciate it and accept it. So know that you're coming into a welcoming environment, one that I hope that your careers can thrive in. Even if you go on to someplace else, hopefully these formative years will be awesome for you. And thank you for stepping up, and thank you for becoming part of our community. Really appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you for choosing to serve, and thank you for choosing to serve here. Forward to interacting more and in you around town.
Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And how much I appreciate your willingness to serve, especially these days. You know how difficult it must be to recruit, find candidates that are quality of you. So thank you so much for doing this. Have your back, as Mr. Elwood said. Let us know what tools you need from us to make your job easier. Easy job sitting back here, you don't. So let us know what we can do to help you. How much we all appreciate you every day out. So much.
All my colleagues said exactly what I wanted in their own words, of course. So I'll follow up saying thank you so much for being courageous in your individual selves, doing what you want and love to do. Your passion will lead you forward. The community will love you deeper. I, in fact, would like to get to know each and every one of you if it's possible. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, guys. We need you. We want you. And we're glad you're here. Corey, I guess we won't be seeing each other at the gym anymore. You're going to be working. And, I just wanted to say that we have needed an influx of new talented people. And we appreciate your willingness to serve. And I look forward to not meeting you on a professional basis anytime soon.
Doesn't escape my notice that we heard a lot about North Bend and the Valley and living here and being a part of the community. And that is a fantastic result. We're thrilled that you're here and the support that you've got from fellow officers coming here this evening. So thank you again, guys. Appreciate it. With that, we will move on to commission and committee reports. We will start with Ms. Miller, Community and Economic Development.
Really hard to follow that. Okay, CED met today, November 15th, 2022, of course, at 3:03 o'clock, approximately in the adjournment room. Council members Jocelyn and Elwood were present. We had 3 items on our agenda, beginning with North Bend Arts and Industries. They led a presentation, Deb Landers led that, I should say, and updated us on many creative endeavors, which include classes and events. So that we eat and spring on a regular basis. Our second agenda item was with Mike McCarty, and he, with the City of North Bend, of course, he enlightened us CWM grant for restoration project. Finally, David Miller, our city administrator, led a discussion on impact with a work study to follow months CED. It's again, December 6th.
Ms. Miller, Mr. Elwood, Finance and Administration.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will defer to Councilmember Gothelf because I was not able to attend that meeting.
Thank you. The Finance Administration Committee met November 1st, 2022, at the City Hall. We discussed one of the ordinances on tonight, a 2-year extension of the ordinance increasing solid waste recycling rates and amending the fee schedule. That's a year extension, and it was on for order of continuing service with them, and there's some increase in there due to CPI we've seen over the last. We also discussed the financial RFP software scoring, vendor chosen, support and documentation. The first conversation we talked about a citywide financial sustainability analysis, and then also on tonight's agenda is the ordinance setting the 2023. And then the other thing on is a public hearing tonight is we also discussed the 2023 and
That's a lot. Public health and safety. Ms. Colon.
Public Health and Safety met on November 8th at 4 p.m. here in City Hall. We had a police update by Chief Phipps, who provided the following update. Update on staffing for Snoqualmie and North Bend Police, an update on the use of force draft, an update that they will continue discussion regarding a new program where investigation teams incorporate local community representatives into investigations. North Bend residents can participate in an objective community representative team where residents will train to join. Currently, North Bend has no representative. They're planning to re-implement Coffee with a Cop, planning to further develop relationships with students at schools via school visits, and planning to offer a safe sitter education course to youth babysitting. Captain Litch discussed the jail contracts, Issaquah, SCORE, and King County. Next, we had a fire update. Deputy Chief Ho provided the following updates. Update on staffing for Eastside Fire and Rescue, King County Training Consortium training, update to Woodinville Training Grounds, working to maintain consistency in training practices among King County firefighters. Chief Clark introduced Deputy Chief Ho, provided an update on his last full day as chief before he retired. We next had a discussion on fireworks. Our city attorney, Lisa Marshall, discussed the city's recommendation to ban aerial fireworks, noting that it must be done 1 year in advance. And the administrator, David Miller, discussed the idea of community fireworks events provided for a safe, positive method of aerial fireworks. And we discussed, committee recommended the ordinance for NBMC RE protection orders to be moved to consent at the following meeting. Our next meeting will be December 13th. Your Honor.
Ms. Colon. Back Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first two items that we addressed in the 11 item agenda for the Asian Public Works Committee will be discussed in the next public hearing coming in just a few moments. So let that ride. We had a bunch of closeouts of projects. Just to let some folks know, the train depot roof replacement project was closed out. The approval of the 6th Street water main roadway improvements close out. We had a closeout of the Ryberry Creek Sediment Pond maintenance project. Mr. Moore gave us a good news about the closeout of the Southwest 10th Street project. Also, a closeout of the and guardrail replacement project. We talked about the transportation element briefly, and Mr. Mersenko came in with money, lots of money. Once again, $650,000 for a federal countywide small jurisdiction grant program for the future outside road roundabout project. He also brought in another $541,200 small match for the program, small jurisdiction program, once again, shared trail and pedestrian bridge project, South Fork Maumee River. Mr. Moore talked a little bit about traffic control at Main and Second Avenue North. And of course, we've already implemented or are implementing those changes as we speak. That was it for our meeting. Our next meeting will be November 29th, City Hall.
Mr. Loudon. Mr. Rosen, Mayor.
Your Honor, we did not meet once or twice, but actually 3 times since we last met here. We had a budget work study October 25th, where I got a budget update and then talked about human community service grant requests and decision cards, followed by special work study on November 1st, sorry, that was here. We had presentation was the housing needs assessment. Then we follow that up with special budget work study on November 8th here. We had a discussion, a spirited discussion, I would say, with decision cards, and we got our pretty much finalized. We will be rolling out tonight. That's all, Your Honor.
Very much. Mr. Godhealth, back to you. Eastside Fire and Rescue.
Thank you. Eastside Fire and Rescue Board meeting was on November 9th. We started about an hour early to celebrate Chief's retirement. We had a lot of people, Issaquah Mayor to come up and talk. We also had several state senators, Seattle Fire Chief. It was a fun event. Talk about that. So we did start our board meeting at 4 o'clock. We're just during that time, we basically approved the minutes. We talked about the new strategic plan that's coming out. We talked about our 2023 legislative agenda calendar. And then we again opened up another area for people to come up once that was completed, we had the bittersweet of him retiring and providing the oath of office to the incoming chief. That was the end of it. And we all need to eat the cake that was brought and celebrate the new chief and the old chief. One of the more fun Eastside Fire and Rescue, bittersweet.
Big change there. And again, that's to incoming Blaine. Very much. Stemming for the commissions.
The Planning Commission last met on October 27th and provided initial feedback to staff for preparing updates to the flexible thresholds under which the State Environmental Policy Act, or SEPA, review is required. Under optional new threshold limits available through the regulations subject to amendment to the city's SEPA regulations. Planning Commission will next meet at a special meeting on November 16th at 6:30 for a public hearing, deliberation, and possible recommendation on the amendments to the SEPA regulations, adjusting those flexible thresholds. The Parks Commission met on October 26th and determined how they wish to spend the 2022 small park improvement budget that was established for their use, including striping for pickleball courts at EJ Roberts Park tennis courts and purchasing a bike rack EJ Roberts Park, additional dog waste bag dispensers for city parks, and picnic tables for City Hall. Parks Commission also discussed the final results from the Parks survey and planning for the upcoming Parks workshop. Parks Commission workshop will be held at City Hall at 6:30 on November 30th, and staff and Parks Commission will address results of the city's park survey and how that and other public input and information has informed the draft updates to the parks element of the comprehensive plan. The Economic Development Commission did not meet in October. EDC will join the City Council on November 29th for a work study session regarding the Economic Development Action Plan. Thank you.
Regional committee report. So got a regional committee report?
County Board of Health met on October 13th at 11:30 via Zoom. Dr. Jeff Duchin discussed COVID, boosters, flu, and monkeypox. The COVID-19 Omicron variant peaked over the summer, but has currently decreased in all age groups. We are still seeing about 2 deaths per day, and COVID is the 5th leading cause of death in King County. 91% of the deaths are in people 60 years old or older. COVID boosters, you only need to be 5 years or older and had your last vaccine in at least the last 2 months. You're in Snoqualmie Valley. Snoqualmie Valley Hospital has a drive-through option. It's very easy, free. They're saying the winter surge is inevitable for COVID, influenza, and especially concerning is RSV in our children. So make a plan. We're worried to wear a mask indoors and in crowded situations, and please get vaccinated. And if you're sick, please stay home. Monkeypox numbers are way down. It's probably going away. Then the most concerning is fentanyl overdose deaths in King County. Had 66 deaths in July, 110 in August, and so far 140 deaths.
Else. While we're on the idea of regional committees, I did want to mention to council, if you have applied for one of the SCA committees, please be sure that the clerk is aware. Considering if you reach that and as we start other committee assignments here. Moving on to the main agenda. Oh dear. Council's favorite agenda item of the year is
Remove that to the consent agenda.
yeah. I appreciate the thought. Motion to adjourn. I would really appreciate that particular thought, but I'll find both of those to be out of order. And instead, item number 7 is presentation, the mayor's budget message for the 2023-24 annual budget. Now, council, I will say that I'm going to do a portion of my overall remarks. I have submitted the full remarks to the for the record. You'll get that as well. So I will try and be a little bit more brief. There are some important things to get out. So with that, I am pleased to present to you the 2023-2024 biennial budget of the city of North Bend. This balanced budget reflects community priorities, infrastructure, maintenance, citywide improvements as determined by your city council. In addressing the priorities of the community, this budget includes multiple ongoing and new infrastructure improvements to serve our residents and businesses well into the future. We are making these investments in a positive, fiscally prudent way. We enter this new biennial budget cycle during a period of high inflation and with the very real potential for a recession on the horizon. City's tradition of fiscal conservatism will continue as council recognizes it is a necessary aspect of providing fiscally sustainable, sound city operations. On adoption, this budget formalizes the policy direction set by council for all city government departments, programs, and services, while ensuring the best financial decisions for our community. An overriding theme is one that honors our commitment to maintain small town character while enhancing the quality of life for all residents. We do this by completing projects that move our community forward through investments in critical infrastructure, by supporting business and economic balance, fiscal sustainability, and investment ensures a healthy future for our city. In regard to operations, our city has grown in citizens and needs these past 10 years. And this necessitates changes in how we deliver services and meet the growing expectation of our residents. This budget is designed to keep pace with these changes. Council made the sound decision to invest in personnel that will help us achieve community goals and available resources. Like you, city staff pivoted throughout the pandemic. And with that, we were presented with opportunities to strengthen our employee satisfaction and retention. Changes and a few additions have occurred in all city departments, including Public Works, Finance, Planning, and Administrative Services. Continue to believe that we have the best professionals devoted to a community, bar none. We will continue to support and celebrate the personnel who serve our community. Public safety continues to be a top priority for the city, the single largest expense to our general fund. Nearly 42% of the city's $11+ million general fund budget is allocated to public safety services. Nationally, police agencies have been struggling with recruitment, and our department is no exception. Earlier tonight, you heard a little bit about the condition that we'd been in and the thankful place that we are now in. I am happy to report that while staffing levels are still not optimum, they are steadily increasing. We believe we'll be back to full strength very soon. Current contract for police services provides for an annual 5% increase in the cost for services, full staffing of 8 officers. Maximum cost for 2023 is expected to be approximately $1 million and $2.43 million in 2024. And we continue to be exemplarily supported by Eastside Fire and Rescue, where our local station has 6 emergency service personnel manning each 8-hour shift, an annual cost of approximately $1.32 million, 1.39. Council recognizes that a healthy community is one that supports physical health and, importantly, one that provides for the nurturing and funding of mental health resources. Again, a little earlier tonight, you heard one of those things in regard to the hiring of a mental health professional who work directly with our police force. Human support services for seniors, youth, and all adults has been one of the hardest hit areas these past few years. As they've ramped up to meet COVID-driven needs, will continue to impact operations for years to come. Your council responded to increasing support through the budget for our human services grants last year, 38%, and an additional 33% this year. Recognition, huge increased strain the pandemic has put on our residents. Everyone should hear that. Significant increases in human service. This biennial budget will provide $306,000 in 2023, and will make another allocation for 2024 for receiving grant this coming year. Since the last biennial budget, we, like our own businesses and nonprofit organizations, have worked tirelessly through the COVID pandemic. This biennium, through the American Rescue Plan Act, we anticipate concentrating approximately $1.6 million supporting our community's social service needs, investing in economic development and tourism, and public facility improvements, city-related services. Also of note, this is kind of a little bit of a repeat, but I did want to point out again, the hiring of the behavioral health specialist. That was in part through a grant championed by Washington State's 5th District Representative, Lisa Callan, along with follow-up funding by both councils, Snoqualmie and North. This position specializes in the treatment of mental health, substance abuse disorders, will now be at work for you, both cities throughout the county. At the end of 2022, city will have made significant progress toward the completion of the new wastewater treatment. WT. It's important to note that the wastewater treatment plant improvements largely paid for local development projects and remaining costs paid via user fees. When complete, it will provide much needed safety and redundancy improvements for our community and our environment. The updated plant will also be prepared to accept new source capacity, such as the recently approved Meadowbrook Sewer Facility Local Improvement District, as well as potential conversion of older septic neighborhoods, should they choose to move from less environmentally sustainable septic systems. When it comes to multimodal transportation, your city leaders committed to connectivity, safety, all residents, and it shows in our ongoing transportation improvement. Two of note are adding sidewalks, crosswalks through sidewalk gap. And we are fixing aging existing sidewalks through the sidewalk. Was that my book?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think that was to take a sip of water. We'll let you off the hook for that one. I just have to go back to the start out. All right, I was mentioning our sidewalk gap program, which is where we're filling in where there's holes in the existing connectivity between two areas. In addition to that, we also have a program for the sidewalk replacement for existing sidewalks throughout the city, and we've been working through that. A few examples just in this past year was the 2nd Street between Ballarat and Bendigo, North Bend Way near Rio Bravo, and the crosswalk at the Snoqualmie Valley Trail, Container Trail Extension, Forster Woods neighborhood, and downtown North Bend along North Bend Way in Bendigo. Be a lot more of that coming in the transportation is changing north. With that, so is the ease with which you get around town. Fewer conflict points, reduced maintenance costs, increased view shed, decreased vehicle pollution, roundabout creation. The City Council continues in its commitment to guide our community, do our part, protecting the health of the Snoqualmie River. Serving water resources in North Bend takes many forms. One of those is eliminating leaks in the system. In 2014, the city committed to replacing what was then 14.5 miles of old asbestos concrete water main. To date, we've replaced over 4.7 miles. System water loss is dramatically decreasing, including now that the 6th Street line, the Silver Creek River, and the 2nd Street. Next up. And we also have replaced approximately 60% of customer water meters via a program begun in 2020. We anticipate completing the replacements by the end of 2023. These two large budget projects, together with our water conservation ordinance and the Saving Water Partnership, make North Bend one of the most water conscious communities in the state. Your City Council recognizes critical need in the Snoqualmie Valley for diverse housing options. Working, living, and playing in North Bend requires a robust diversity of housing choices, a strong local job market. Last year, the city was honored with the Smart Project Award for the adoption of the form-based code in the downtown commercial zone. This code serves as a land development regulation, fosters predictable built results, a high quality using physical form rather than a separation of uses as its organizing. A lot of great words to say. It's more about what you see and what it is. Form-based code will be applied as we move through this next biennium and will help to ensure future redevelopment fits the character of our community, providing more housing options. Thoughtful policies such as this work balance needs for jobs, services, and housing while adhering to our growth management. We do expect 2 affordable housing projects will reach completion during the coming biennium, including Taylortown Habitat for Humanity Community, 7 townhomes offered at as much as 30% below market, and the River Run Apartments, which is a multifamily housing development, will have 28 of its 128 apartments designated for households earning 80% less median demand. Additional diverse housing coming available this year includes 28 townhomes in our downtown and the 212 Cedar River multifamily housing, which includes a 4-acre city park connected to Chandler Landing Park, providing direct access to Middle. Since 2009, city budget has benefited from growing revenues keep pace with corresponding increased expenditures. We've seen real estate excise taxes, sales tax revenue slightly higher than projected during the 2023 budget. And even business and occupation, or B&O taxes, all exceed original budget. Strong revenues have made possible the ability to meet growing costs and staffing, serve our growing community. Note, single-family home development has slowed down dramatically. That will continue as we move through this next. Nearly all approved subdivisions are complete or nearly so. While I mentioned several multifamily homes now underway, those too will be in a few years. No other significant projects are currently in the works. It's reasonable to say rapid home building cycle of the past decade is nearly over. This will result in reduced revenue from development sources. We are planning that expectation. A bright note, creation opportunities. We have a lot of park improvement projects that are an integral part of our mountain town. This year, council approved the launch of the design phase for a wholly revamped Town Taylor Park, the associated McClellan Street running alongside it. Council also approved a companion design effort for the riverfront, Bendigo 202, next to the bridge into downtown. Watch for opportunities to weigh in on the amenities and design of these facilities being in the very near. When complete, residents will have added connectivity to our downtown, more efficient parking along McClellan, and additional trails and riverfront amenities that were not previously available. New park is also on the horizon, partnership with the Skyview Metro District, called the Tenant Trailhead. Likely include a 45-stall parking lot, restroom facilities, and picnic facilities. And feature major additions to hiking and mountain bike trails throughout, include a connection to the Snoqualmie Point Park to our west onto the broader Rattlesnake system. Construction is anticipated to commence. Council's continued focus on creating an attractive environment for new businesses adds exciting amenities to our highly livable community. Many have been noted this past year, such as the Wyndham Hotel, Snoqualmie Valley Athletic Center, and the Youth Activity Center, YAC. New businesses expected to break down this coming year include all logistics, the Seacon Industrial Facility, bringing new jobs to our. And we're looking forward to the IAN Council, along with the city commissioners, and professional staff, support and advise us. We're always looking ahead and planning for our community's future. It's how we both maintain our commitment to balanced fiscal responsibility also successfully delivering services and amenities residents. It is a policy commitment of council to look forward in a strategic way, support a variety of research studies to gain insight into that. This past year and coming up, we'll see the results of many of these planning efforts across multiple disciplines. Few of the tasks in process or soon to launch within this biennium include the updated comprehensive plan due for completion by the end of 2024. This document is a policy guide for nearly all that we do. We are working chapter by chapter toward that up. Currently in review is the transportation element, be followed by topics such as housing. The input from many sectors, Planning Commission is the lead advisor to council. We are well into the development of an economic development, first of its kind for our city. This plan will answer to council's request for a holistic plan that fosters sustainable investment, creates family wage jobs, provides more goods, services, and amenities better meet residents' needs. We expect this plan to be completed by 2023. Our Economic Development Commission spearheading that. And we are nearing completion. Comprehensive housing needs assessment, housing action. This was made possible by the State Department of Commerce grant, where North Bend partnered with Nation, Duval, and Snoqualmie as community-minded cities coexisting in a valley that rely on one another's success. We agree that we should all share the responsibility for achieving equitable distribution of diverse housing options. North Bend served as the lead city for this $135,000 grant project. The Housing Action Plan is anticipated to be July. Finally, I want to bring special attention to our staff for their exemplary work in obtaining funding for city to meet our needs. Earlier, Mr. Loudenbach was mentioning yet the latest grant we've received. I want you to know we're now over 7 million in grant commitments throughout this last biennium. You will see many of these projects begin in the near future. Grants serve as an incredible savings for residents, and they provide for new and exciting amenities and services. The 10 grants that I had on my current list, I'm only going to mention just a $350,000 grant called Complete Streets. This grant provides for the design of the entire length of North Bend Way in regard to frontage use, beautification, lighting, accessibility, activity, end to end, city end to end. Beginning to see some of the first ideas of that very soon. $140,000+ cooperative watershed management toward habitat restoration along Ryberry Creek, the left bank, the south fork of the Snoqualmie River, in collaboration with the Mountains to Sound Greenway. $541,000+ State Route 202 shared use trail sign grant for a trail and bridge along the north side of State Route 202, beginning at 4th Avenue and extending west over the South Fork River that will connect to an existing trail system at the park. Finally, I'll mention approximately $782,000 North Bend Way Find and Overlay project in the South Fork Snoqualmie River crossing, extending to the western city limit. This one, it also should include roadway beautification and restriping lanes to complement a new trail that will connect the downtown to the. Have a lot going on, a lot more to come, a lot more in the full application things we're doing. So in wrapping up, I I am very proud to serve as your mayor. Being engaged in a positive way to give back to the community that is my home is, one of the most rewarding aspects is the opportunity to work in collaboration with our. When we best function as a team, we're open to new ideas, we meet. This is how we successfully find ways to enhance community, maintaining our small town atmosphere. In very much that same vein, thank city staff, commissioners, their dedication, working closely with council to achieve the goals vision calls for, and our budget always. As we continue to invest in the high quality life that we cherish here in North, you can count on me and our council stay mindful of fiscal limitations. That is why this budget reflects, that is what this budget reflects, what I am committed to executing. I'm optimistic as we move forward into the new year and to a new budget cycle. My unwavering commitment to serve our highly livable. That concludes item number 7. Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Yes. Ms. Miller and all of you, your support. Item number 8 on your agenda, AB 22-135. This is a public hearing being continued. Ordinance adopting the 2023 property tax levy. Mr. Gold, do you have any updates for us before we go back to the public hearing?
Just have a couple of things that were asked last time and have one answer. Earlier today, I sent out an email to council and the mayor and some staff regarding a tool that is an Excel spreadsheet that I worked with a consultant in my prior job. Adapted it for North Bend's usage, along with a website to the assessor's office, and the impact of assessed valuation on their individual. I think this is the best way to answer the questions, as we don't have the rates, we don't compare them. Spoken with assessor's office many times. I did ask them the question about assessed valuation, and it's not a one-to-one thing. And it's really obviously our responsibility is how much the city recoups every year. Hope that this will prove helpful. We'll be able to put it up on the website because of that, so that people can numbers in to see what their valuation is and corresponding cost for their home and what part of that is the city versus the other. And there, you can always follow up too with the Department of Assessment. Have a really nice website. It shows you so much information. Not layman, but it'll help people understand impact. Fortunately, we don't have 2023 numbers yet. Update the spreadsheet to be. We'll get that as soon as I get that. I'll forward that on the website and then I'll forward it.
As mentioned, this is a continuing hearing. So at this time, we'll move to public comment. You are a member of the public, either here in council chambers or online. Comment on this agenda item. If you're here in chambers, you'll step to the podium. Start with your name and address for record. You'll have up to 3 minutes. Online, please indicate in the chat box or by *9. Starting here in chambers, is there anyone wishing to testify regarding this? Seeing nobody making a move and being very concerned about even moving at all? Assume not. About online?
No one at this time.
No one online. Okay, with that, close the public hearing. We'll move towards action. Mr. Elwood for Finance and Administration, I believe this came through your committee. So we would look for you to make a motion that started discussion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll make a motion to get us started. I'm assuming there'll be some healthy debate once the motion is made, which is what our community needs. So I make a motion to approve AB 22-135, an ordinance adopting the 2023 property tax levy set forth in option number 2, 1% increase as a first and final reading.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Mr. Elwood, please speak to the motion.
Thank you. This is a topic that comes to us every year. Throughout the years, we've had a lot of roller coaster debates, healthy. I will be supporting this motion. I think the incremental growth is what's vital to this particular levy. The numbers that Mr. Gould will be presenting down the road on the incremental growth will be helpful. Supported this in years past. I'll support it tonight, and I do hope it passes. Thank you.
Mr. Jocelyn, you were the second.
Similarly, I think it's the due diligence on the part of the city to take this 1% increase. It's allowed under state law, especially in these times of high inflation. Staff costs are the most significant aspect of the city's budget, and we have no choice but to continue to pay competitive wages to a staff, which we have heard acknowledged yet again tonight as one of the best in the state, and I agree with that, but that comes at some cost, and I believe this is about a $20,000 overall increase spread across the city. And I think of it a bit like a retirement plan. Miss 1 year of increase, even a small increase 10 years from now or in some time, going to cost the city a position, or it's the base level of funding that this city operates on. It's the most stable funding base that this city has access to. I think it's our responsibility, in fact, to, while painful, take this 1% increase to keep the city on a sound financial thing going into the future, and to not do so would, yeah, I would be remiss. So I too will be supporting the motions this evening. Thank you.
Jocelyn, I'll look down toward Mr. Godhelp.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree. I find this to be truly amazing that after we get this presentation on affordable housing, we take a look at and we say a healthcare worker who average $81,000 a year could support a max rent. Typical property tax, most of our residents costs them a little over $750 in today's dollars per month. It's an awful lot. We're looking for affordability. Yes, we'll say that it's a small percentage that the city is taking at 1%. At some point, we have to make a stand to say, can't continue to support, all taxes and everything. Onerous, and if we want to have affordable housing, this isn't the way to do it. I continue to say it is a small amount. Largest amount that we keep seeing would be additional value that will get in their homes. And then on top of it, the additional construction. So, it's a I'm trying to housing.
It's calling. Mr. Loudonback.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Ms. Miller. Ms. Rosen.
Keep it short. I'm usually opposed to property tax increases unless there's a pressing need. I believe past I supported it for public safety, something I would consider necessary. Feel that today meets those goals and needs. That's really all I have to say, but I will follow up. Ellen said something which triggered. Last council meeting, we had a 45-minute presentation on our housing needs, of which the majority of it was housing. Very first thing that was presented after that, the property tax increase. Yes, I'm perplexed by that. I don't understand the math, maybe. So that doesn't set up for me. Leave it at that for.
Whether council has anything further, just for the benefit of the public in particular, because I imagine you are interested in my position on it as well. Council is aware that I do support the 1%, as the motion was made. I do appreciate the comments about affordability. I would encourage us in the coming year to look at ways to actually work with in our tax structure to have less of an impact on those most needy, while not denying the wealth in our community that is smooth. So would be my comment. And with that, to a vote. Motion before you is to approve AB 22-135, an ordinance adopting 2023 property tax levy, option number 2 with 1% increase, set forth as a first and final reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Hey,
Have that correctly. I have the motion passes with members Scott Help and Rosen objecting. Thank you. Thank you, council. We'll move on. Next item on our agenda this evening is AB 22-136. This is also a public hearing ordinance adopting the 2023-2024 annual budget. Mr. Golds, back to you.
I just have a couple of comments, questions that were asked last time, or comments made from the public. One was on what is a modification. One of the citizens asked that. And since we pass a biennial budget, there's a second year, which would be 8 and 23 for 2024. City has the option to amend, means to make changes, and it's called a mid-biennial modification. That hopefully that clarifies that citizen. And then there was a question also about the water fund, and so that was an early number that that one citizen looked at. Actually, is much higher than that, because as the council may remember, we did a interfund loan earlier this year for the water, $1.2 million to until 2005. So the fund is projected to be at about 1.2 and I think 1.2 million five. So actually 150,000, right? And our concerns as staff and the mayor, yes, water fund being challenged now because of inflation. So materials and labor costs are going up exponentially. Right now, inflation is around 8 to 9%, projected by the experts to go down and build the budget to be a little more conservative. So we're not as low as those projections are. But right now, the increases are outstripping rating. Rate increase is 5.5% over the next 2 years, each year. And right now with inflation, that will not. So we're watching it really closely. The fund has had a lot of activity in capital. There's going to be a little bit of a slowdown during the next 2 years in that. And we're going to see as inflation comes down, how we rebuild the reserves of the fund, that it's viable. That's the one, because that was a good question brought by the public. But we, Council and I believe we did speak with people about this back in. So it's not a surprise, it's just something that's natural. That's all I have. Oh, there's one other thing too. I have been speaking with a consultant who did the rate study for the city, and we're looking to update that as based on the economic.
Council, any clarifying questions? Move to the hearing.
Just to be clear for tonight's action, The final action on approving the budget will be at our next council meeting on December 6th. This will go through Finance Committee one more time. I just want to clarify.
To the committee. Yes, tonight is intended to be
First reading.
first reading only. And it will be on your sixth meeting. Mr. Rosen.
Richard, you mentioned some of the funds with the capital spending of inflation of some pretty big hits. Our REIT fund is still in decent shape. This is a question I don't know the answer and I'm asking. Capital projects are allowed to be spent, the REIT monies are allowed to be spent on capital projects
Certainly.
and including into the sewer, the water, et cetera. Have we looked at maybe moving some more of that REIT over, something to help alleviate some of the pressure on those funds? Can we do that?
Well, and the attorney can help me out with this. I really believe for REIT, you have to be careful most of that. They've opened it up a little more, as I understand, but a lot of that is for municipal roads. Building. Not seeing too much of that transfer to utilities. That's why there was an interfund loan done, not an interfund. So while it's available, I would hesitate to use of that simply because enterprise funds need to support. They need to be aware of that. We transfer.
That was a question, as I said, I didn't know, so
Sure.
thank you.
Mr. Rosen, good. Anyone else? Then we will open the public hearing at 8:06. You're a member of the public here at City Hall or attending with us online, wish to speak on this budget item, please indicate in the chat. *9 for online. If you're here in city chambers, we'll start here. We start moving toward the podium. And we will start with name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes. Carefully at the audience. Everyone's avoiding my eyes again. See no one moving forward. Do we have anyone online?
We do. Michael Thomas would like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Gold, for the introduction. Michael Thomas, 1231 LaForest Drive, SE. And again, thank you, Mr. Gold, for addressing my questions on the previous meeting. I was the one who had the questions around the low values and the first estimate given on November 1st on the what was left in the 2024 budget. And thank you for clarifying the $1.2 million inter-REIT transfer loan, which I believe was authorized on April 15th of this year. I still am concerned by, I didn't see much change between the November 1st and November 15th drafts in terms of revenues and expenditures in the water fund. So that was, still think additional work may be needed there. Plus your additional commentary about inflationary pressures raising the costs on the plan don't appear to be reflected in expenditures. The other thing in reflecting the REIT loan was the purpose of that was to cover GFC shortfalls from 2022 to 2025. I didn't see any substantial revenues, and I find it shocking that no GFCs would be gathered between 2023 and 2024. I mean, certainly there are some larger development projects. I would suspect they would be hooked up, but maybe not. So I would hope that folks would look a little more into detail as to what's left in the water fund, particularly 401. And as my understanding is, the REIT loans have to be paid back as water is an independent enterprise utility. Thank you very much. And this concludes my comment. And again, apology for the choppy speech. I'm getting tremendous feedback from the room. Thank you.
Anyone else?
No one else.
Council, just as a reminder, we did hold a hearing on the budget previous council meeting. So this is actually our second hearing on the budget. And the choice, of course, we could continue or have a third public hearing at the next budget meeting, but would suggest that we close it. So unless there is objection, we'll close the public hearing at 8:10. Very much. And that it's us for getting action on the budget. This came through FNA, of course. So Mr. Elwood, you introduce a motion to get us started.
Thank you, Your Honor. Motion to approve the 2023-2024 biannual budget as a first.
Second. Motion and a second. And that motion is a little bit different than the way it read in your packet. We felt to clean that up. That council was more used to seeing. Mr. Elwood, overall motion.
Not really much more to add, Your Honor. Just appreciate the truncating of the original motion. Made it a lot off the tongue a lot easier. So nothing to add unless my colleagues do. Thank you.
Mr. Jocelyn.
Budgets are boring. You know. But yes, not the message or the messenger. But the budgets, at the end of the day, a budget is the most definitive and clear expression of the city's priorities that a city sets in all of its actions ever. You know, setting a budget is right there, the black and white. It is the clearest expression of our priorities of any other action that we may take. Therefore, it's fundamentally important. It's at the top of the list of what we're responsible for doing. Here we are in the middle of this process that's been laid out for us. We're moving down that path. I'm supportive. The mayor spoke to the significant increases in public health, mental health, social service funding in this budget, which makes me proud to be here and happy that this city has those sorts of resources, is making those sort of choices and deciding, at least, those priorities. I'm pleased to be part of that. I will be supporting the resolution. Thank you.
God help. Mr. Laudenbach. Mr. Rosen. Appreciate the comments, even the ones that are at my expense. You also believe that it's an incredibly that we're looking at it very cool, and I want to commend council on the work in short time this year. This new biennium, and should be mindful, as Mr. Rosen spoke to, in regard to the sessions that were spent discussing human services, discussing special projects that we're able to accommodate within the budget. I think it's good. I think it's a path forward. We're doing good work. With that, tonight's motion is to approve 2023-2024 annual budget as a first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This is unanimously. Moving along. Next item here. Item number 10, AB 22-137. This is an ordinance amending the taxes, rates, and fees schedule regarding solid waste and recycling. Mr. Miller.
Mr. Mayor and council members, from the boring to the mundane. This is something that you do every year, and it's reflective of your agreement with our solid waste carrier, Public Services. According to that contract, they are to review the service costs each year, take a look at the tipping fee that they're charged by the county, which we can almost count on to go up, and also look at what the CPI is and reflect those charges in the revised rates, which you have in the ordinance that's attached to the AB. So in accordance with that contract, we're recommending approval of AB 22-137 to reflect the rates that are shown in the ordinance in your packet. Be happy to answer any question.
Clarifying questions?
CPI, I understand with that being in the contract. My memory of like that. Well, tipping fees are automatically included, or is that our discretion?
They are automatically included. You'll recall that earlier this year, we were asked to make some revisions to these fees, and we do not do that. We only do it according to the contract. Once a year, it'll usually come to you in November. So this is entirely consistent with the language of the, we've had legal review that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Right. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this item, please move to the podium. Or if you are online, indicate in the chat box or by *9. Start here with those in chambers, up to 3 minutes to speak. Bring with your name and address for the record. Seeing everyone in chambers avoiding eye contact. Online.
No one at this time.
This would be another F&A item. Mr. Elwood, did you want to defer handle this?
Motion to approve AB 22-137, an ordinance increasing the solid waste and recycling rates and amending the tax rates and fee schedules as a first and final reading.
Motion, have a second. A second. Mr. Elwood, anything to add?
I think Mr. Miller summarized it quite well. Don't like increases, but for the game. So I do have some questions, so I'll reserve that for this time, but that's all I'll say on this.
Mr. Von Beck, anything to add?
This process is something that we fortunately have to do on a regular basis. And our friends who control the tip fees at next level up of government have some spirited discussions about how they were going to implement these. And I'm sure when our friends from a chance to speak tonight, they might reflect potential impacts that has on their cost of service. And moving forward, there are some significant challenges with the facilities that these tip fees are employed at. And we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. Costs are going up. Costs, everything associated, solid waste are going up. And there are new rules and regulations coming down from ecology, other folks, which are going to impact those facilities as well. So we're at the bottom of the food chain here coming, but I would be supportive of obviously adopting this tonight moving forward.
So anyone else? Seeing none, the motion before you is to approve AB 22-137, an ordinance increasing the solid waste and recycling rates, amending access rates and fee schedule. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It is unanimous. Thank you. Item on our agenda is number 11, AB 22-138. This is a motion authorizing a solid waste collection contract with the public. This is different. This is for the future. I believe Mr. Marchenko is going to some presentation and an insight. See lights going dim. See him at the podium. I mean, he didn't get a grant for lighting. That was the problem. Should be appearing on the screen as well as behind. Seeing the same.
The sound is stereo.
We have a brief pause for a technical issue.
From your capital projects and grants manager and introductions behind me. We have our Center Services is the consultant we hired to assist with this contract. And we have Jeff Brown behind me, and then Jeanette Jurgensen as well. We also have in the room the 2 out of 3 of the proposals that came through, Ecology and Republic. So this is the 2024-2034 solid waste collection contract, 10-year contract for the city. So we'll be updating council and running through this direction needed. We are looking for council to accept staff recommendations and move forward with the 10-year contract. Staff is also requesting the current administration fee is 7.5 added to this contract. And then we're asking for it to be increased 2.5%. 10%. City conducted competitive procurement as we went through this process. You had a current 11-year contract from 2011, which actually Jeff Brown was here with you guys, Epicenter, at that time. And right now you had between Republic Services, Recology, and Waste Management, 3 good quality contractors. Also in. We had quantitative and qualitative analysis with internal city staff, myself, Lisa Marshall, our city attorney, and Tom Moore. Evaluation scoring in front of you, just showing the numbers of what we looked at and evaluated, worked with Epicenter to get this accomplished. And then the Republic qualitative highlights that we highlighted for you are the 6 items. And the new contract, just to highlight electric support vehicles. We looking out at the future, so they're going to have the support vehicles are electric, unlimited commercial recycling. And also with the variable CPI that seems to be jumping all over the place these days, we capped it at 5%. And we thought that'd make it easier for us and looking at budgets. Service disruption. Elephant in the room, we worked it out and put it in the new contract, and this will not, completely eliminate. It will definitely help and reduce. Hopefully, this will not be an issue. But I do want to let council know, public's been here for 40+ years. That's outstanding. They know this community. They're embedded in the community, and their drivers know everybody. They know the routes, and they really do a good job. So kudos to them as they made it through, 40+ years and hopefully continue another 10. Rate impacts. As Council Member Loudenbach has stated, prices are going up. They went across. Every city has seen them, unfortunately. And we evaluated, looked at them. Republic did come in with the lowest proposal and had a couple exciting things we're going to share with you on the slides coming up. I'm going to have Jeanette step up and cover a little bit of this, but if you concentrate looking at the middle column, current contract, 2023 rates, you'll see just trying to give you some examples, but again,
Thank you. Mayor and Council. As you can see in the far column, proposed rates, what was given by Republic in the process. These rates will be adjusted by both CPI inflation and any disposal increase prior to implementation in July 2024. So we didn't want to that for you and be wrong. So just so you know, this is not what you're going to see. We'll be in there and to approve that will. And then as you heard earlier on the King County disposal increase that affects the rates every year, King County is adding a fixed annual charge to their fee. We are working internally on the mechanism of what that's going to look like. That new fee is not allowed in the contract at this time. We will be back in front of council in spring or summer next year with amendments for both the current and the future contract.
This deserved a slide on its own. This is really Republic put in their proposal for the 10-year contract, $10,000. Like I said, they're embedded in the community. You're going to put that into the downtown foundation, which is really, really good. And then what we had experienced this past year, I made a proposal to Rich Reinhardt, who's here. He's the general manager with Republic behind me. And needless to say, I put out there the $40,000 for things that we went through working with the attorney's office internally and what we endured working with the public and trying to provide a service. He didn't even hesitate. Did not even hesitate. He said, how about, he went back to his bosses and said, hey, Dan, is there a way, we're at the end of 2022. Is there a way we can work with you and maybe do the 10,000 in 22 and then 30,000 in 23? Absolutely. Just working with us. I think that's phenomenal. Working with the downtown foundation and working on the 10-year contract, 10,000 every year from the April 1st, 24 moving forward all the way through 34. So I did put that together, notify or let council be aware this is coming through. And then recommendation staff is to approve the 10-year contract. Everything you see, or have looked at and reviewed, we're here and we can answer questions. Did want to introduce Rich Reinhardt, and he's general manager. Rich, if before we take questions from council, I thought let him say brief.
I promise, yes. Evening, Rich Reinhardt, 16005 Southeast 144th, Renton, Washington. Dan mentioned I'm the donor manager for public services. As Dan might also mentioned, we've been a proud partner with North Bend for the last. My team and myself are very excited to continue that partnership for another 10. As we know, electric vehicles are the future. Public is a leader in that space above. Right now, we have 10 trucks en route. Very near future, we intend to bring electric vehicles to the city in the Puget Sound area up for North. Once again, for years of partnership, we appreciate that. As I said, we'd be honored to carry that on for another 10 years.
And Rich is not going to tell you this. I will. Man was out here last winter slinging garbage with us. So just general managers, you don't usually see that. Really did an outstanding job. He won't talk about it. I will. At that point, we will take any questions you guys have. Contract.
I have a question. So the month we went without garbage in December, a lot of it was weather related, which is understandable. I totally get it. And the final week, which was not weather related, but related to a strike in San Diego. Whatever. So the city helped get rid of trash for those citizens, which the city paid for. But why should the citizens have to pay for a month of no trash service? Like if I buy a hamburger and you don't give me the hamburger, I have that hamburger.
What I can say to that, and possibly might be able to help. I know Lisa did a lot of the work, but legally, we followed the contract, as did Republic. So we went through, we followed the contract itself, and all parameters were met. So once you open that door, opens, many more doors. We did everything we could, coordinated, worked with Republic. I did, as you're aware. We had staff. It was a partnership between them and us, and did the best we could under the circumstances, the weather, and as you stated, the union strike.
Mr. Rosen.
So, well, to follow up on that, current contract that didn't allow for anything. We're entering into a new contract, and I don't see that being addressed moving forward. Seems like if I read it correctly, it's same process. We will be charged again if we go for a full month without service. Why aren't we addressing this with the language in there to give some sort of relief? Go another month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Don't see it in here. Missing it?
Yeah, we are addressing it, and we made some modifications to the current contract.
those changes reflect your hopes that you can get out here the next day or the next week. What I'm talking about is following up on what Heather was talking. If you miss another month of service, to say in the new contract, will our customers get relief from their bills?
The way the contract's written, it does not relief. One of the alternatives that we looked at when we went out to proposal was to provide financial relief as well as this recovery process. And when staff looked at those costs, they were too high to really consider. Everyone's bill more than we thought something like this happened. One of the other things that is addressed are there performance fees that have been added to address both inclement weather and labor disruptions since the last contract. And so hoping that will provide even more of a financial incentive to make sure we get these recovery provisions. And so either being picked up at the curb when possible, and then also have the drop off.
Mr. Rosen?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate the detailed and thoroughness of it. I do have more of a point of order that I'd like some clarification on. I know we're going to be moving to approve this contract or not tonight. And clarification I'd like to have is sending this back to Finance Committee so that we as a council can spend a little bit more time on it. I went through TPW, which makes sense, but there are some financial implications here. Just reading the room here, there should be a little bit more so on this particular contract. Is that something that I should wait till you introduce the motion, or should I proceed, sir?
Hanging up too much on technical procedure is not usually a successful meeting. So with that admonition, if you will, I'd suggest getting a motion on the floor, then move this matter to the committee of.
Again, thank you for the presentation. There's a lot here to consider. Appreciate the time that you.
Thank you.
Clarifying questions. Well, so clarifying question, the minimum level of service that people cannot get out of, and I understand that's by city statute, but is that, it's not called out in the contract as to what that is. I'm assuming that's a 20 gallon.
Yes, it would be the minimum service level.
Which is that 20 gallon container.
Any other clarifying question?
One more. The wildlife resistant fee of $3.30, is that per month? That's not called out specifically in the contract.
Yes, that's a monthly.
I was careful. Through questions, and so and we'll move. All right. You are a member of the public and wish to speak on this agenda item, please move towards the podium. You are online, indicate in the chat box or by *9. We will start as we have been here in council chambers. We'll start with name and address for the record. Then you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. Logan Harvey, 611 South State Street, Tacoma, Washington. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. My name is Logan Harvey. I'm the Government Relations and Sustainability Manager for Recology King County. Tonight's decision is a really important one about establishing a 10-year relationship with a partner who will be charged with performing a critical function in your city, the residents and the businesses of North Bend. Such a long timeline, it's really important to deeply consider this partnership and who will best serve the city's residents and businesses. This will affect the quality of life here. This will affect the appearance of the city and will help drive the city's vision for the future. I understand that your incumbent hauler has the cheapest proposal, but are they truly the best partner? All haulers in King County face real challenges during the snow event. For our part, Recology made sure our citizens were informed with daily updates on the website, joining local social media groups to share information, directly calling our customers and texting them as well. We went beyond the language in our contract, putting out inclement weather drop boxes a week early and manning these stations with our own staff, not requiring city staff to come out there and help ensure that they were not at risk. In the recovery, we prioritized garbage and recycling services over yard waste. And so we got the city cleaned up quickly, but we had residents in one of our cities that felt that their yard waste took a little bit too long to collect. So again, we went beyond the contract and refunded these citizens for hardship that they had to bear waiting for their material to be collected, the tune of over $20,000. Contrast this with North Bend's experience, where haulers' communication issues left citizens unaware of where drop boxes would be located, unsure if service would be coming. And eventually, taxpayers were stuck with over $40,000 expenses that really were the hauler's responsibility. These expenses were because they don't service on weekends. It was definitely your responsibility. I understand that there's a feeling that some of these cost recoveries, there's some cost recovery for this through the donations to the Downtown Association. Be clear, these donations are incumbent signing a new contract with the hauler. They're contingent on that fact and giving them a significant pay increase. And there are amounts that would typically be donated by a hauler to nonprofits in any city that would support, same way that we do in the cities that we work in. But that's the past. Let's talk about the future. North Bend is a city that cares about its environment, seeks to improve its waste diversion. Contract with Recology drives those values. Recology contract includes a waste zero specialist focused on the city of North Bend that will meet with your businesses, teach them how to divert food waste, and provide 6 months of free food waste service. Try to reduce their.
All right, Logan,
waste.
you'll
Oh,
have
I'm
some
too slow. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Else here in Chambers.
Lucas Haynes, 43525 Southeast 76th Street, Washington. Mayor, council, esteemed colleagues. I'm here to represent the North Bend Downtown Foundation, speak about the sense of community with donations towards the Downtown Foundation. Over this process, they've really leaned in and gotten to know myself and the board, really gotten to understand what we want to achieve over the next couple of years and built this proposal in there to help us grow towards reaching Main Street accreditation the next year and enriching our community. The donations this year will directly go to the holiday lighting, and the donations going further, the next years will be directly representative in the downtown corridor. So I'm here on behalf of the Downtown Foundation.
Evening, Mayor, council members, staff. My name is Wendy Weicker, 4808 East Mercer Way, Mercer Island, Washington. I had some remarks, but I'm not going to use those. I'm just going to say we've been in your community for over 40 years. The records go back further than our digital file. We love this town. Our drivers love this town. I got in this town about a year ago after my colleague Russell Joe. I stepped in and kept doing the community engagement we've been doing for years in your beautiful city. I got to know your North Bend Downtown Foundation. I got to know your Chamber of Commerce. I've been here daily, monthly, endlessly trying to figure out how to best serve this community above and beyond the daily work we do every day. I know the storm event was frustrating. We work closely with your staff. We're going to work closely going forward too about which roads to clear, how best to clear them, but public safety is our #1 priority. If the streets aren't safe, the buses can't get through, your Amazon drivers can't, school buses can't get through, our drivers can't get through. Public safety is our #1 priority. After that, it's economic development and sustaining our communities. We invest in this town, live and work in this town, and we are committed to making sure that we keep that going forward in the future. You know, this quality of life is important to you and your residents. We are committed to being here. We did above and beyond. We've always gone above and beyond. We do the drop boxes, show up on weekends, we show up for those special events, communicate endlessly and always with your staff and your residents and your businesses in good times and bad. We are here to serve. We're your partners in this work. And we're looking forward to being there going forward. I think going forward too, I understand there's some math that you're concerned about. All the proposals were good. You had 3 good qualified proposals come through. We talked about the alternatives. Your town is committed to sustainability. You're also committed to financial responsibility and fiscal. We were $600,000 less expensive than the previous year. That's because we have the economies of scale. We know how to do this work. We've been doing this work. We have a lot more work to do going forward with King County and all the work coming forward. Organics diversion with House 1799 and increased recycling going forward. King County is going to work with all of us on how to their zero waste goals and work. Serve on the chair of the King County Solid Waste Advisory Committee. I have a front row seat, work with your staff in our regional cities to help together get us through all the changes that are coming in this expensive essential service. So I encourage you to take a look at the math. I think you all have it there. We're your good, economical, sustainable partner in this work. We are committed to keeping that work moving forward. Appreciate this town. We love working with your staff. Appreciate all the education and outreach with residents and businesses. We're here and we're committed to serve. I encourage you to think about that. It's only going to get more expensive if we build in those rates. I guarantee you, we work with staff. Whenever there's an emergency, whenever there's a block, we will continue to do that.
Anyone else here in chamber? Do we have anyone online?
So we do. Michael Thomas would like to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Michael Thomas, 1231 LaForest Drive, SE. I want to echo 2 council people's comments about the concerns of the service we had this winter. Some of us did not get garbage pickup for a full month. While some of that may be force majeure, such as weather, failure to monitor your worker conditions is your responsibility as a provider. I am unhappy with the handling of that. We were not communicated. Failure to pick up on 2 consecutive weeks in my neighborhood. And I personally would like to see that we get refunds for this in the future, and also some credit even for inclement weather events. I don't feel that it's appropriate for performance fees to go to the city coffers. This needs to go back to people who suffered expenses, who brought their garbage in, and of course, also to reimburse the city. So I am not happy that this is not in the contract, and I'm not happy with the representation of the presenter that this has been addressed. If you're saying it's addressed by performance fees, that's not an appropriate solution. I'm also concerned by the raising of the administrative fee to 10%. No doubt this is a cost of doing business that's passed on to us as customers. I would suggest you roll it back to 7.5%. And I also see a 50% increase in 2024 over what we're paying today in 2022 dollars, plus additional stacking of King County fees. So I would hope that council would look to reduce the administrative fee back to 7.5%. If we're serious about holding down utility costs and cost of living here, then we won't do a 10% administrative fee. We'll take it down to 7.5% and reduce the contract by that amount. Thank you very much. This concludes my comment.
Anyone else?
No one else.
Include public comment. Mr. Loudenbach, through your committee.
Yes, it did. Motion to approve AB 22-138, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute the comprehensive garbage, recyclables, and compostables collection services contract with Republic Services the period of April 1, 2024 through March 30, 2034 to increase the city administrative fee 10% effective April 1.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Mr. Loudenbach, speak to the work of the committee.
Yeah, the presentation that we were made aware of and the extensive work by the committee and Mr. Marcinko. there was a competitive bid process. There were a lot of time and effort put into this contract. As was mentioned earlier, dollars are not even close, which isn't necessarily the only determining factor, but when you have incumbent contractors, they have certain advantages. They have staffing, they have equipment, they have the ability and the resources to address the current need. Those who come in as non-incumbents are at a disadvantage, unfortunately, especially in this environment where you have a shortage of CDL drivers, people who can operate the trucks come in. You have to grade your fleet and capacity to be able to take on new business, which isn't necessarily something that disqualifies, but it's certainly one thing that adds to the discrepancy in the billings that we saw. As far as costs being increased moving forward, many of those costs are pass-throughs from other administrative agencies. Anybody who would be a successful bidder on a contract will be imposing those costs and fees. It was also explained committee and then again here this evening that yes, you could buy the insurance to have compensation for people in catastrophic events that don't have their garbage picked up on a timely basis. But the upfront fees and insurance that you pay in the base rate of the contract can be somewhat onerous in and of themselves. So I think given the competitive nature of the bid, everybody put their best foot forward. Had 3 excellent contractors bid. I believe the committee came through with a reasonable choice, and I would recommend it to.
I believe you were the second.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you said that eloquently, Ross, so I really don't have anything to add because you said everything pretty much I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Do you want to make the motion, Mr. Elwood, or do you want to?
Comment first. Okay. So if your motion passes, you'll get some information. I'm sorry.
Mr. Rosen, did you want us?
I did. I think this is our opportunity. I know last year it was very frustrating for this council and most folks in the town go through lack of service for a month. Now, I understand completely about the roads work. I cannot blame, will not blame it. I even understand the labor issue. But it was incredibly inconvenient to our residents. Then it felt like it was just getting insult to injury when we got a bill in the mail for a month of no service. And I understood at the time, there's nothing we can do. That was in our contract. That was what we had signed. The opportunity to address that is now, because we do have a new contract. Unless we want to see that again, we're comfortable with that, we do need to address it. I understand there may be a cost, but I think that is something we can negotiate and talk about. I'd like to see us negotiate and talk about. I also have concern with notable cost increase, then us adding 2.5% to our 7.5%, bringing that up to 10%. I do not understand why we need to do that at the time. You see our cost for everything going up. Burden on our residents continues to increase. This is a bill that substantially increased, and I understand why. These costs are going up all around the country. For us to then take an extra 2.5% on top of that, then I hope if you do go back to finance, you can take some of that and take it around.
Mr. Rosen, help.
I understand the costs and the increases. I have a concern that we as a council has not reviewed this clearly enough. The information that I saw here, there might have been more committee level. I would love to see it come back and so we can understand why TPW recommended this moving forward. They would reject it. May have looked at it. I would like an opportunity to look at.
I would like to add to the communication aspect of Rebenko, because I do understand the snow, that I would never want those people out there trying to pick up trash in a snowstorm. But it was the weeks after that, and the communication was lacking. Nobody knew where to go. My neighbor and I self put up signs at the end of our street, know to go to Torgerson. That should not have been on us, should not have been on the city, should have been on Rebenko. So I am,
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, we're dealing with folks who have proven their ability to stick us with the letter of what's written in the contract. Clearly, we're going to be held to. If nothing else, that's the one thing that's been proven in all of this. What's written, they're going to honor, and the city honored it, and Rebenko honored it, and nobody was happy about it. Certainly those of us living here. We ended up with a pretty short end of the stick, and if I'm not wrong, during presentation and sort of debrief, I believe it was Sammamish, somebody got compensated. Somebody didn't have to pay their bill. Somebody has a contract written in a way such that exactly, or something very similar happened, and the outcomes are very different in terms of what it cost those who were receiving service. I'm sympathetic to the weather. I am not sympathetic to a huge corporation whose CEO makes unconscionably large amounts of money and is squibbling over a few dollars compensations for workers in San Diego, subsequently costing what it costs the city and the people who live here. And their absolute unwillingness to in any way budge or address it, other than to say that's what's written down and then come in here and say that, oh, we support your community and we're all friends and how can we work together? I can tell you how you can work together and you choose not to take that path, but I really didn't want to revisit the future. I mean, the past, I'm more interested in the future, and I do have some real concerns about this. I appreciate, for example, there's a commitment to equity and diversity in staffing stated. It's on a slide. If I search for diversity in the contract, the only place it comes up is in legal language. There's no commitment in there. There's no metric that they can be held to. There's no measure. I can say I'm committed to equity and diversity in hiring. I don't see a single word in that contract that holds anybody to anything if that's true, and I'm interested in that. I appreciate the commitment. I just want to know that it's true. I want some way to look back and say, oh, look, or I want to look at the front end of it and say, oh, look, you point to this and say you didn't come through on a commitment. You wrote it down, but how in similar, metrics on education and outreach, there's emphasis on contamination reduction program, which is really, really important. We as a city really compare. I mean, climate is impacting all of us. And it's not cheap and it costs money and we can't keep skating by on the low end of what's going to cost. And at a minimum in this contract, I want to make sure people who live here are getting the help they need to make sure that they're making the best choices possible with their garbage, such that its impact is minimized. We have a role in that, which gets me back to my broader point of I will support giving this more consideration before committees. I want to consider more, I want to know that downstream impacts. What's going on? What's the difference in these contracts? Once the garbage is hauled away from my street, what's going to happen to it? That's a concern to me, and I haven't had the time. It wasn't on TPW. I would like to know that that's been considered and evaluated and how that was balanced in this proposal that's come before us tonight, because this is a 10-year contract. What are the rates going to be 10 years from now? We can't begin to imagine, but also imagine what the impact's going to be. It's really uncertain, folks. And so it's a long-term contract. I have some questions about it. I think it's really important. And I think now there is a moment here, an inflection point to make a choice that isn't just the bottom line cheapest. I want to know it's defensible on a broader sense of principles that this city says that it represents and stands for. And some of those are environmental sustainability. That's not even mentioned, referred, waved at in here, near as I can tell. Not a word, not a nothing, just what's cheapest. These are the folks, they've done well. Sure, they've done well. Unless I'm missing it. Those are questions, and I would like the opportunity to further evaluate them going forward. Thank you.
Gerald, I know you have a motion to make. I just want to be sure with council that you're all, whether you want to have staff answer any of the questions, or it's like I'm detecting a theme.
I have a few sentences, but a lot of what is going on has already been said. I mean, I put it in the bin. Now, where does it go? And I know a few years ago, I think, so, or somebody, your colleague came and gave us a great presentation about where it goes. And one of the challenges that he raised back at that time was, especially on the recycling front, China is refusing or taking all of our recycled matter. Where is it going now? I pay for yard waste, garbage, and recycle bin. Is that, and I go to other states and there's one bin, right? They're like, what do you mean you recycle? Who does that now? Well, I live in Washington and we recycle. But there are some of those questions that I would like to hear more about me as a council member to enter into a 10-year contract. And I appreciate the tenure that we've had, the relationship that we had. There was a lot of great eloquent words spoken about beauty of the business relationship. That beauty of a business relationship fails in a moment of need, where one business, as Mr. Joslin articulated, can really lend a hand to the smaller benefactors or the smaller relationship, smaller members of that business relationship, such as the city of North Bend. So to me, that was an epic fail. Now, I understand costs are important. You say $600,000 or something on there was savings. So those do add into the value, but I want to know where it goes now. I need a little bit more information. I think 10-year contract is steep. There are some incremental costs that we have to weigh out. And I do want this to go to a finance committee to at least give committee itself some more time to think about this holistically, as well as my colleagues to think about this a little bit more thoroughly. So with that, unless there's other comments, I move to postpone this matter until Finance and Administration Committee has had time to review it.
Okay.
Motion and a second. This becomes a secondary motion handled first. The primary motion. So in the this motion, we would be delaying the second original motion. So have the magic will internalize quite as quickly as you read it. Said. And back to you, Mr. Elwood. You read it. You have a motion essentially to send this to the Finance and Administration Committee. I would like to ask esteemed lawyer, we need any additional information in that motion as to when it might, or if the motion as made is sufficient.
It is sufficient as made. I think it would be helpful to the entire body if there was a little more detail as to when it goes to F&A and when it comes back, once it expected back.
And I understand that may not be something you're able to do at this. So.
Appreciate that. Would the detail come in the tail end of the motion, which is, and then it will be determined when it will come back to this body from the F&A committee?
I mean,
do you need a date?
I think it's important to at least establish the F&A date, and then F&A would determine when it comes back.
First December meeting? This December 6th is our next meeting. I just, all what was on the agenda.
I think your F&A.
And that's gonna, I think we're gonna be discussing the
Yep.
budget.
The budget,
So,
that's
yeah.
why December 6th F&A is a big one. So when is the drop dead date of decision making on this?
The sooner the better.
Wait, I'm being asked for a specific date.
Yeah.
Come on now.
That doesn't work, Mr. Rigas.
I think your first F&A committee is the first, well, it would be first Tuesday in January then. So that's January.
So, restate my motion.
So
Let me write this down.
Check.
I amend my motion. Looking for the proper procedure here. Okay. I amend my motion. Be such that move that we postpone this matter until it has been reviewed at the Finance Administration Committee meeting on January 3rd, 2023.
Any further comment?
No, I do appreciate the effort, everybody doing this, really come down to, I think that there's needs to be more eyes to take a look at this than what was looked. I apologize that I didn't get any time to really look at it prior to. Appreciate the additional time. I know it had whatever budget you guys have, but it is important for us as a community to make sure we look it over, and it's something.
Mr. Elwood, listen carefully. The motion as I heard you make it was to remand AB 22-138 to the Finance and Administration Committee meeting January.
Works.
Scott Health,
Works.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-2 with council members Loudenbach and Miller objecting. And with that, that immediately negates the prior motion. Tonight's consideration. Council? Working our way down our list here. Brings us to item number 12. AB 22-139, resolution authorizing development agreement with Telegraph Properties LLC. Farrell.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I will provide a brief summary of the Big Marine Boat and Watercraft Sales Project, and the owner, Bill Baker, is here as well if there are questions for him. So the property is located along Southeast North Bend Way. It's just east of the Mount Side Hub on a 1.7 acre parcel that is vacant. The property is zoned neighborhood business NB, and the use boat and watercraft sales is an allowed use. So they are proposing a one-story building, 29,000 square feet. It has a showroom, office space with mezzanine, and storage area for approximately 50 to 75 boats. So they would have a variety of uses there, canvas manufacturing, like I said, some sales, some parts, and storage. Everything would be indoors. So the commercial uses in the neighborhood business zone have a height limit of 35 feet, maximum front setback of 15 feet, and a 20-foot minimum rear setback. So we have reviewed this project. One full round of review has been completed. They submitted a complete application, and we're awaiting a resubmittal from them. This project is reviewed administratively, and there will be one more round of public comment during the SEPA determination when that's issued. 15 days for that comment period. Project is in the Salal water area, and they do have an existing meter on site, which will serve them. So they have asked for a development agreement, which would enable them to have the building the size they need for their business operations. Currently, the code under our design standards limits the ground floor commercial tenant space to 15,000 square feet. The intent of this code was to limit big box retail and also to scale buildings appropriately. The development would be required to meet all other bulk and dimensional and density requirements, and will continue design review throughout the building permit phase. Of note is that the zoning just to the east of this parcel abutting it is an employment park 2, which does not limit the ground floor commercial space. So if they were one parcel over, they would be able to do this without coming in front of you all for a development agreement. Bakes is also requesting a deviation from parking lot landscaping requirements in regards to landscape islands, and instead consolidating those, and design standards to position the building a little bit further back from the street in the build to line, and they're proposing to create a flagpole and the building is set skewed, you can see on the site plan. Both the parking lot and the landscaping deviations can be approved administratively, but are included in the development agreement in order provide a full record of the requested approvals that they've asked for deviations for. During the notice of application period, we received one email of support for the project and one letter that had a series of questions, and that person also came to the Planning Commission public hearing and asked those in person. The applicant has provided an economic model which estimates 12 employees will work at this location with first-year sales forecasted at 5 million. Development does provide an opportunity for new retail use within an existing underperforming commercial site, a vacant site. North Bend would likely receive in the range of 57,000 per year based on tax revenue from the development. And our impact fee estimate is currently at around 240,000. That would be finalized with their permits. The Planning Commission recommended approval at their October 13th meeting with a modification to the site plan to support removal of a 5-foot landscape strip along the east side of the parcel. There's a building that's actually larger in size than the one being proposed. And it sits really close to the property line. And so instead of putting 5 feet of landscaping next to a drive aisle, they said, let's focus that on the west side where we have also neighborhood business zoning, but it has an overlay for residential being allowed. And that's primarily what exists on that side. So that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions or have Mr. Baker speak if you'd like.
So clarifying questions only at this time.
Yeah, on page 163 says approximately $57,000. Throughout a number very different.
Yeah, they and Mr. Baker caught that as well. So their forecasted sales are 5 million. The city estimates we would receive in tax revenue 57,000. So page, where did you see that error?
163.
Mhm.
You're confirming as a type.
Reported as it's a net sales per year resulting in benefit. It's just the way it ended up getting written. Report it, or if who this is.
Right.
Didn't get answered.
Yeah, page 175 has it. There.
Anyone else?
Yes. And the artist rendering, what is white building next to it? That is I can't remember the name of it. They make slug bait.
Freeze.
Or slug bait. There's another name for the business. They've been there a long time. Is it near yes. We're just east of the Mount Side Pub. Mhm.
Now it's clarifying. None. Comment. We're here in the audience. You would step to the podium. If we're online, or by *9. 3 minutes, being with your name and address for the record. Is there anyone here in the audience who speak? Cleared the place out pretty good with the last. Mr. Elwood amazingly cleared the group. But so no one here in chambers. Do we have anyone online?
No one at this time. Oh, Michael Thomas would like to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Michael Thomas, 1231 LaForest Drive, SE. I did have a clarifying question for staff in relation to water. Is there an existing meter on the property, or is it a water certificate or a promise of water? Of course, the Salal Association is in a water moratorium. And my understanding of this is that really any incremental demand must be reviewed. So if it has an existing meter, that may require review for commitment of additional water. In the past, of course, there have been challenges even with use of conditional certificates. So I would have some concerns about water availability for the property, and I would ask council to defer action on this until the water can be verified for the property. This concludes my comment. Thank you.
Your comment? Anyone else? Anyone else online? And I believe this came through Community and Economic Development. Ms. Miller?
Mayor, it certainly did. Okay, motion to approve AB 22-19, resolution authorizing a developer agreement, Telegraph Properties, pardon me, LLC, Peaks Marine Development.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Miller, would you like to speak to it?
Brief at this point. The primary benefit to the city authorizing this through the development agreement is the tax revenue to the city, sales of the boats and the associated items. Peaks Marine really fits our category of what we want to bring to North End. So I support it on that level. Also, the facet of enlarging that facility to a little over 29,000 square feet will house the boats. They will therefore not be exposed to elements outside. Looking at that's something to consider as well.
Yes, I'm in strong support. It's very exciting, the design, the layout, and the fact that in zoning is an approximate science. The fact that the adjacent parcel to the east is already zoned EP2 such that none of the poser wouldn't need to come before us makes this really easy. Just say sure. And if you look at the diagrams and the way it's laid out, I think it's a significant improvement actually. In many ways, we're lucky to have it.
Thank you. I too support this. It's on brand, as Councilmember Miller was articulating. This is one of those other moments where we've been trying really hard to work with businesses, commercial development, to be more of an open, friendly place where unique industries, unique businesses can come here, be part of our community, fit into our community. And I think offering this type of flexibility is a step in that right direction, leading by example, for example. So I do support this as well. I do have one question, and I hope that somebody would address the question that Mr. Thomas posed regarding water, so we could just clear the air on that right now, if we're able to do that.
You, staff?
Yes, we can let Mr. Baker comment as well. My understanding is they do have a meter out there, and I would think they would be pretty sure of their water situation to be spending this much money and going down this path this far. To add.
There is water.
Please let us know for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Name.
I'm Bill Baker, 12-232nd, Samish. The property owner. There is a water meter there. It is working. Use.
Mr. Kyle? Mr. Rosen?
Appreciate this. I think this is fantastic. I agree. It's with what we want here. I would be remiss if I didn't at least bring up one concern. And Jamie, you can address it. I'm sure it has been talked about at committee level. I just haven't heard. I just want to make sure this is not going to just be primarily a boat storage facility. There's real sales going on and more than just storage. This concept sounds great. I just want to make sure the execution is what we're seeing here.
Sure. So my understanding and talking with these folks over the last couple of years is a large portion of the big massing of the building will be 50 to 75 boats stored there. We've asked a number of times about point of sale. If there's boat sales, high ticket items, it will be based out of North Bend. They'd like to be here, run their business out of here. The folks that do the canvas manufacturing, that also would happen here. And a big part of it, from what I understand, is the parts and sales. They sell worldwide. They manufacture certain things that nobody else does. Mr. Baker was explaining to us in CED committee, and so they have a niche market and they do a lot of sales that way.
Definitely boat sales are. All right, thank you. This is a fantastic business to be bringing. Shit.
Rosen, Mr. Lundenbach. You yet?
You had me at the introduction.
Mr. Elwood, back to you.
Sorry, no, this is going on too long, but I would just want clarification from Ms. Burrell that email sales, the online transactions, we get a portion of that tax revenue. Correct? Right? See heads nodding.
I'm not 100% sure the tax structure. I believe we do get some, but I don't know what it is and if that changes in the future, because that's not a city determination on how the taxes.
Point of delivery.
Oh, we don't.
Point of delivery. It's a law change several years ago would be I'm not the legal counsel here either, nor the tax expert. I'd be cautious about assuming that online sales would generate. Further. Right. The motion to approve AB 22-139, a resolution authorizing a developer agreement with Telegraph LLC, the Bates Marine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries and it is unanimous. Thank you much. Finally, on our agenda tonight, at least I believe it's finally here, number 13, AB 22-140. This is a motion authorizing a contract with Mountains to Sound Greenway Trust. Stemming.
Try and make this quick. We've been working with Mountains to Sound Greenway Trust for many landscape and restoration projects over many years. We usually bring individual contracts to you for each project, or sometimes they're under the amount that needs to come to council. However, we are looking at some new grants that are coming in and some other projects regarding tree mitigation and whatnot. And we expect to spend a little more this year than other years. And so we decided, instead of bringing each individual contract back to you, we are proposing to bring a single contract with a fixed amount over a 2-year period and keep them on contract for these services moving forward. So our proposal is to have this contract for $300,000 for the 2-year period. And it went to CED committee on October 18th and recommended for approval. Thank you.
May have been the only one. It said 600.
300, sorry.
My hearing. Clarifying questions? None. To the audience remaining and those online, if you have a comment on this agenda item, please indicate in the chat box or by *9.
No one online.
Very much. I believe this also came through Community Economic Development. Ms. Miller.
Yes, it did. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to approve AB 22-140, authorizing the mayor to sign a professional services agreement, Mountains to Sound Greenway Trust, an amount not to exceed $300,000, form and content except city attorney.
You do have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Elwood. Ms. Miller, anything to add?
Well, first and foremost, I think this is a sensational example of a partnership that really does work well. I think they've been working with us, Mountain to Sound Greenway, over 20 years. That's the number. I hope I'm accurate. If I'm not, I apologize. But I think this is a very efficient way to go forward. And I love efficiency personally, so I recommend everybody fellow council members to follow suit there.
Mr. Elwood.
Thank you. I concur. I mean, this is a relationship that we've had for a while and need to sustain. I think the key to this particular agenda bill is the efficiencies that Ms. Deming is bringing to the table to reduce staff time to coming back and so forth. There still will be checks along the way for any money spent. It's not to exceed. So I do hope that this does pass tonight.
Ms. Schottenbeck.
Perhaps Mr. Miller or somebody on the staff can clarify, what is the limit for our small works roster colorway?
I believe it's 35,000.
35,000 single trade, 6.
We need to mend something to make this go forward. I hate to make you
Noted.
do lawyer stuff this time of night, mister.
I think it should
No,
be
I'm
noted
just
in the
saying,
agenda
are we
bill.
exceeding the limit that we have set for small works roster? I'm asking.
I think the question,
Total contract. This is intended to be multiple.
Multiple projects. We're
Yeah,
asking for
so
one
not
contract
to
for multiple
exceed,
projects.
not to exceed, but so we're not going to be violating our own policies by having this amount reauthorized, as the individual amount would obviously be somewhat
Right.
smaller.
If there is a contract that would exceed the small works amount, do it.
You'd come back to us if an individual project came above the $35,000. This is merely a budget.
If we went above the 35,000 and they were the winning bid, we would not need to come back because we have a contract. But if they are not the winning bid, then we would bring the other contract forward. So we would go through the same process for each project, but if they are the winner, then we already have the contract set not to exceed 300.
Okay, I understand. I just wanted to make sure we weren't violating our own financial policies.
We are not.
Mr. Further. Motion before you is to approve AB 22-140, authorizing the mayor to sign a professional services agreement with Mountains to Sound Greenway Trust in an amount to exceed $300,000, form and content acceptable to the city attorney. Favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It is unanimous. Thank you for that. At this time, we'll move on to mayor, council, administrator concerns and initiatives. I think for a change, I'll turn to my left, Mr. Laudenbach.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Ms. Miller.
This is my opportunity to wish everybody a happy, safe Thanksgiving.
Mr. Godhealth.
Let's wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving, and please, again, it's getting darker at night. We're still walking. Please watch our crosswalks. I know we've got a new one that was recently put out in our community, and I think we'll need to watch when people are.
Ms. Cullen. Mr. Elwood.
Yes, and I'll have to have some conversations with our Valley Center Stage team. Okay, so yeah, I would like to announce that Valley Center Stage will be performing new adaptation of A Christmas Carol, A Ghost Story, Christmas by Charles Dickens. It's a new adaptation, new directors, and the production opens up December 2nd and runs through the 18th. If my recollection serves, Valley Center Stage has added some additional matinees. And I believe there are 1 or 2 days where it's a doubleheader. So we're trying to increase the performance numbers. So please turn out. They're good.
Mr. Johnson.
Simply a nod to staff, in particular Bree and Aaron, for once again successfully administering an AV miracle in producing a meeting that I think online has proved successful. I know it's been stressful to you all. And it's a little hit and miss, but it's also, I think, outside of your pay grade, frankly, and the fact that you continue to show up with smiles on your faces and do what you do to help us communicate and be present in the homes of our constituents is invaluable, and I just want to acknowledge it. I'll circle back to the beginning of the night, a long time ago. The new hires in the police department and the mental health professional is a great step forward and worth circling back to tonight. Thank you.
And Mr. Rosen.
Yeah, actually, Alan triggered something. I've been meaning to thank Dorigos and Public Works Department. Mountain View and Side View, the crosswalk that Alan had mentioned, that new crosswalk. You guys did a great job, and I want to commend you for being receptive to input from the community and quickly working with them and finding solutions. You constantly made adjustments to that. And I think the end product is fantastic. Thank you for listening and taking the time to communicate with everyone, making those adjustments and as well. So thank you. Great project, and it shows that city, we can do things right. So I really appreciate all your effort, everyone in that.
Rosen, Mr. Miller.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Council, just a few quick things here. One thing I wanted to share was this past Saturday, I participated in our annual Arbor Day tree planting. And this year was devoted to restoring an area where Tannerio Road used to meet North Bend Way, but is now a raised planting area next to the river. We had a great turnout, including local scout troops, staff, members of the Mountains to Sound Greenway, and residents from as far as Fall City and Woodinville. And when I asked the different folks why they came all the way here for this planting, was essentially, hey, the health of the river is important to me too. It's a reminder that those who truly care about our environment, including the precious Snoqualmie River Basin, are engaged in positive ways to offset our impact. They're involved, they're out. Parks commissioners and city staff will be holding a parks workshop on Wednesday, November 30th, 6:30 p.m. here at City Hall. Discuss updates to the parks element of the city's comprehensive plan. Public is invited to attend and encouraged to provide feedback about existing and future parks, creation, land, trails, and facilities. Bonus refreshments will be provided. Please save the date, Saturday, December 3rd, for our annual holidays and tree lighting event. This free event will be held from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in downtown North Bend. More information about the event will be available soon on the North Bend Downtown Foundation website. Also on December 3rd, Skyview Metropolitan Park District will be holding their annual holiday bazaar, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Skyview Community Center. There is no admission fee to attend the bazaar, which features handcrafted items, tasty treats, raffles, and entertainment. Plenty to do in North Bend on the 3rd. To encourage the community to shop local and to support small businesses, there will be a Shop Small event being held on Saturday, November 26th in town. Following day, North Bend Art and Industry will be holding an Artist Sunday, noon to 4 at the Train Depot. Those interested in viewing and purchasing art from local artists and authors. That rounds that up. Also, a couple of announcements here. We will be canceling the regular city council work study scheduled for November 22nd. However, as we know how much you want to be with us, we will be holding a special council work study on Tuesday, November 29th, here at City Hall at 7 p.m. And at this time, we are going to move into executive session to discuss potential litigation pursuant to RCW 42.30, 110(1)(I), and property acquisition pursuant to RCW 42.30, 110(1)E. We will be in executive session approximately 30 minutes. There is no action coming out of this executive session, and so we will adjourn the meeting, not adjourn the meeting, we will be ending the recording at this. Very much.